Hey, so it's me, Debbie. For a long time, over a decade, I've been going by Deborah. And, but most people know me by Debbie, and I'm starting to be okay with that again. So I let you guys know I did change the name of my channel. I just had input from different family and friends being like, well, go ahead and church history, and as I'd been researching, wanting to get a good website, you're trying to find the keywords and trying to overthink it, and I don't want to always be talking about church history. I do love it, and sometimes I just feel inspired to do that. I think for me, it's almost, this channel's kind of, it's not as big of it, although I do have like 200 followers, but people on Facebook might have 500 friends. Like, I'm just like, it's still not that, there's not that much interaction. I'm not imagining that many people are seeing it until I go to church and someone stares at me and I'm like, did you see my channel? I don't know. They don't tell you. They're just, sometimes they glare at you. Sometimes their entire family's going, oh my gosh, I'm looking different. That happened to me. But anyway, I'm very grateful. I'll just let you guys know today that the 12th of May, 2023, Lori Daybell was found guilty on all charges of, I think, conspiracy to commit murder and the murder of JJ and Tylee Ryan, JJ Vallow, and they can finally bury those kids. And that's great news. I'm not surprised. Last summer I talked a little bit about it and I was like, I don't see how she could be found anything but guilty. There's just so much evidence, and then I didn't follow that much about it. It's not a true crime channel. Also, it is May, and this is Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome Awareness Month, and that it is basically connective tissue disorder. There's like 13 or maybe 17 subtypes. The most common is HEDS, hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which I have. My joints dislocate a lot, and I'm very hypermobile. I went through a year of testing. I had to see a lot of specialists to get diagnosed, and I was actually diagnosed first with one comorbidity called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which I still struggle with and will every day of my life. As long as I can remember, I've had it. And I just, even watching family videos and seeing myself, I'm like, I get why people bullied me, because it's just like, what's wrong with her? Something is wrong. It was my health. It is equivalent. They equate it to like heart failure, which runs in my family. But some of them might have had POTS and they didn't know. So it's, again, awareness month, because it's 1 in maybe 5,000 that have HEDS. That's what I have. I have POTS. So please research that, and please have love for anyone they find out has diagnosed. Please don't gaslight them. They've been through probably years of that. I've been struggling with lack of sleep because of just loud neighbors. I don't like having neighbors above me, but one that's up from 1 to 3 in the morning, and so it's just dropping like bowling balls or something. I don't know what it is. Although I'm sure a lot of us can relate to neighbors and be like, what are you dropping? What's happening up there? But it really, because of my health problems, it triggered a lot of things. So I just started losing a ton of my hair, and that was really scary. So I've just been through a lot. And with the whole trial, I can't tell you at an appropriate time, I'll tell you my story, but like something really bad happened, and just working on it and can't talk too much about it. But my feelings are very raw and fresh about this whole thing. But those of you that have been following me know that I have talked about this since 2020. Tried to understand it. I've only had 3 videos about the last summer I did a preparing the people video, and then in the fall I did one. I'm not obsessed with it. Like some people, some YouTube channels, follow every little thing. But I will say, like, my opinion, even though I'm so happy that the family, and especially just seeing the smiling face of Kay and Larry Woodcock, just the torture they've been through, that this part of the nightmare is over. They at least don't have to talk to any more lawyers. Hopefully don't have to testify anymore. It's just at least Lori was found guilty, but then there's going to be Chad's trial and other people. But it just makes me sad to wonder. I've talked nonchalantly about this. I am more scared of people that believe in the same things they do than I've ever been, because you don't know who like believes in that and to what extent. And I will say, like, I was surprised someone started talking about Visions of Glory, this book. That book was found, they said in the trial, in their car. Like, that I think was a huge inspiration. And I didn't understand, like, where did they, and my microphone's going in and out. I don't know if someone's hacking my phone, probably, or I'm gonna keep doing this, making this video, but I apologize, guys. I'll have to talk louder, and AC is going because it's really hot today here in Arizona. But you know, it's just interesting how people believe almost every little thing. Like, this one guy that had been harassing me for years, like, claimed, oh, I'm not a part of that, I'm not a part of that. And then he sends me an email talking about how he thinks the entire African race is going to die. I'm like, you don't think you're dehumanizing or having scary beliefs, even though you believe in reincarnation and think you're Joseph Smith and all this stuff? That's when I was like, I'm contacting the cops. Like, and you don't think people are like racist until you get an email like that, or you're like, none of this is true. Oh my gosh, this is really scary. It's these extremes, and I'm sure there's a lot of good Calvinists out there, but I've seen, you know, people try to say, oh, this is blaming our church for these murders and all these horrible things that have happened. And again, what makes me sad is, like, how many people got away? I think there's probably a lot of people that have believed what Chad and Lori did and have gotten away with similar things, is my opinion. I don't have any evidence of that, but luckily I've just tried to stay away from people like that. But it's made me sad when have had family and friends that I've wondered. I've been like, so last fall, part of my story, again, I can tell you what I've learned and researched, right? Hopefully. That's what you'd think. You would think that you have a right to have an opinion and to talk about and share truth. Well, you know, I did watch Heather Daybell's interview last fall, and that was one of the saddest things. But it did scare me, because she's like, and I could feel her frustration. I feel for her that she was trying to tell the bishopric and people high up there about Chad, and that they would defend him. And I think that's the saddest thing, because you don't know what levels of people still believe and followed him. Aren't immune, stake presidents are immune. You just don't know, and it scares me to know, like, how many people secretly believe this. Nate Eaton, I will say that I do know, and with my opinion, that he knows a lot. I listened to him, I think it was just some recording a few months ago, talking to Nancy Grace, where he was saying, I think a lot of people, if they each get like death penalty, that still believe him. Because you think people are so quiet, you're just like, oh, this is so stupid. Like, who believes this? But Nate Eaton's like, Melanie Gibbs, a lot of people believe it, and I'm finding out a lot of people do. And they know the law. They know how to try to destroy someone's life. But Nate Eaton was saying to Nancy Grace, who horribly reacted, because she's from the South, she hates our church, it's just really sad. And it really irked me how she treated him, and it's really unfortunate. But Nate Eaton was I wanted to hear what he said, but he was saying, like, a lot of people that still believe or see them as martyrs, they're really not happy with the trial. And my microphone keeps going in and out, but I'm going to keep going. But he's one person that I do trust, especially in the media. I mostly followed him. Sometimes I look at some of these true crime channels, and I'm not going to become a true crime channel. I'm not into that. To me, again, this channel is sort of almost like a Facebook post. Oh, like, I think the Spirit's telling me let me just try to help people. I'll go overcome lesson. I'm like, I want to overcome my fear. And I made that first video that I really dove into preparing the people. Because one, I wanted to defend Ron Meldrum because he was being shown in screenshots. I'm like, and I researched and watched some things, and I'm like, oh yeah, he wasn't a part of that. Was he a part of preparing the people? Yeah. So not, and I wanted to show like not everyone a part of that was, but sadly there were a lot of people that were and believing these weird things. Most of the weird things were happening when they need no homes. In my opinion, you know, is it a cult? I 100%, my opinion, that's why I made that video about tent cities. I think it's a cult, those that are wanting to leave society and go live in a tent. There's nothing less safe than a tent with everything prophesied about the last days. I read books and books by LDS members. I'm a member of Church of Christ Latter-day Saints. I'm active, those of you follow upon this and don't know who I am. Books on it and just quotes from the 70s, this and that. And I lost that book because since I was 12, I would read it. I was slightly obsessed with this one book, and I'd research a little bit, and then I just, you know, got into dance and hobbies at church and friends and just boys. Boys were my real like hobby for a long time because I'm like, all I want to do is get married and become a mother. I'm not a mother. It's gonna be Mother's Day soon. But anyway, try to slow down. Rambling. I'm sorry, you guys, but. As far as the last days, going through college and just everything I learned and researched, as far as I was planning, I thought I would have a bunch of kids, and I'm like, okay, as the world ends, everything that my church has taught me, I have this idea that for a year, we're gonna be in our homes with our food storage. I'm not able to go outside for some reason. And so I'm gonna keep all of my books. I would not sell any of my books because I'm like, okay, we might not have TV. Like those were my thoughts of things I'd been taught growing up. And then before COVID, the lockdowns, our leaders of the Church of Christ Latter-day Saints are prophets, you know, and they decided to get rid of, usually church is 3 hours for us, went down to 2, because the third hour, they wanted families to learn to do Sunday school at home. So you do the third hour at home, like, and we had Come Follow Me, and you would do that at home. It's still that way. And a lot of families like, oh, I just want to let the church take care of my kids for that third hour. I love it. And it was hard, but then it was prepared them. So when the lockdown happened, they were already understanding and ready to do church at home because we had to. And so our prophet did not feel inspired to fight the lockdown. I just think about this, those that are so critical of our prophet, how traumatizing it would have been if he was like, yeah, fight this is not right. Like it, sometimes the prophet, I'm gonna follow him as far as any battles you're gonna choose. He's telling us to be peacemakers, right? Be careful of your politics, be careful of these fringe beliefs. It can easily turn into something scary, very contentious. Anything that gets really contentious and really judgy, you know, like not all Calvinists are bad, but in the past, especially in the 1800s, against the Church of Christ Latter-day Saints, they saw us as evil. We were bad and dark. So then, because the Calvinist ideology, only some people mattered. That's not something the Church of Christ Latter-day Saints believes. Is it almost exactly word for word what people like Chad and Lori and people that are meeting in homes? I do think they're a cult because they want to leave society and go live in a tent city. I didn't say that until I started hearing some things. Can't say anymore. But I think that's scary. So just don't do that. Sorry to laugh. Like, just don't. Let your house be your temple. Be lucky, even if it's an apartment. It can be sacred space, and it will protect you from maybe nuclear fallout. Maybe, who knows, whatever else is going to happen. These prophecies that we might just need to be in our home. There isn't a prophecy, go like, fight people, like as Lori Vallow was beginning to believe, and Chad wasn't thinking or thinking. She needs to fight all these zombies. Some Calvinists believed that, and they did kill some members of the Church of Christ Latter-day Saints. They starved them in Missouri. I won't say anymore, but I've talked about them in videos. If you read Lucy Mack Smith's book, it's way worse than I didn't have Mormon pioneer ancestors, but until I read her book, I was like, oh wow. So it's way worse than I thought. What happened in Missouri? Just killed all their cattle. Like, think about it. It'd be like someone burning all of our grocery stores, making you stay in your home. And well, I mean, I guess that did kind of happen in some states, some countries, some cities. Some people really did starve to death during the lockdowns. But is it okay to, can quarantining help prevent the spread of a disease? I think so. I believe so. I believe masks can protect you from spreading a disease to someone else, because your spit when you cough goes 20 feet and not 6 feet. Until I watched a doctor explain, I was like, oh, that's why they're saying we can be 6 feet apart if everyone's wearing a mask. Because I was like, 6 feet, that's not far enough away from someone that's COVID. Like, if you don't ever wear a mask and they're not wearing masks, you're 6 feet apart, you're gonna get it. People don't know that, and they didn't talk about it. I read news articles where they even lied and said that. I'm like, no, I'm just an MA, and I learned it's about 20 feet that your cough can go. Those droplets can go and go into someone's lungs and make them very sick and possibly kill them, and it did kill a lot of people. But, you know, I believe in angels, I believe in the resurrection, but I don't think they're gonna be masquerading and be mortal and then suddenly become, I mean, when Christ comes again, we do think that anyone, even people that are not members of the Church of Christ of Latter-day Saints, and maybe even people that may not have been taught about Christ, might actually still be here and be considered good, righteous people because of that's just what they were taught and knew. That's what we believe. Like, we have a much more open-minded. That's what leads to dehumanization, and Calvinism can lead to that, sadly. Because some people are just think it's, well, you know, all those, some of them think that the Jews were just chosen to just be murdered. It was supposed to happen, and they're just going to hell. It's like, no, God's a lot nicer than that. Wait, no, there's agency, and that's what we believe. And that God has, there are no surprises though. And is his hand in everything, and is he in charge all the time? Yes, but he can't take away our free agency. But he's doing everything we can with all of our messed up bodies and minds and choices to help us. I think the goal of Christ was to heal and bring life. Obviously, if you're planning and plotting someone's murder, you're not listening to the Spirit. But it's sad how people become deluded and start to think that that's all right. So, just pray for your family. Be careful. If anyone calls, like I had talked about in the fall, I quoted in that video about 16 minutes in talking about a couple of girls, how it scares me to remember overhearing girls in a mid-singles ward. 2 girls. I don't know why a lot of women were second into this. That surprises me. Sitting there and just going, what do you think? Light or dark? And the girl goes dark, and they're like, and then I sarcastically said, still saying that I'm in their voice, like I am quoting them, said that, oh, well, you're dark, you should die. Like, that is so disturbing and messed up. Like, that was my real reaction, and think, like, what the heck is going on? How did those girls get into this? Because they were doing these, if you watch the trial, these seances, and like, and it wasn't necessarily always praying, but according to Melanie Gibb, it was like this list of people that they were praying to die. That doesn't come from God. That's not right. Okay. I mean, God is in control, and he allows bad things to happen sometimes, but you let God prevail. Let him be in control. Christ came to heal people. He even healed a man that was possessed and brought him relief. So these things can happen, right? But pray for our law enforcement that they get a lot better at reading nonverbals and finding out and being able to tell when people are lying. Like, maybe they'll actually do background check on these people when they can. that's my worry and concern. You just don't know how people are into all this stuff, or to what degree. You just don't know. But again, this small victory, I think we need to, I think Charles was a really good guy. I don't think the trial would have been so successful and so smooth, I think, because he just told his sister everything. His sister believed her. Like, nobody else believed Charles. The cops didn't believe Charles. They believed Lori. And I used to defend them last summer. Some people are really attacking the police because there's going to be another trial for Charles and with Lori. And people just attack, oh, what idiots. Like, they could have, like, it could have saved so many lives if they had just believed Charles. But, they just didn't take it that seriously. And Lori, after she had her husband, Charles Vallow, murdered, got a victim's advocate. She had a lot of victories. All these little victories really empowered her. And that's what scares me. Because those things can still happen. I'm sure it happens, my opinion, I'm sure it happens every day. But Charles did keep track of everything and told Kay. And I think so much weight was on Kay, but none of this would have, they might have gotten away with it without Kay Woodcock. She just knew from what Charles had told her. She knew she needed to fight, and also she was supposed to get custody of JJ. Not entirely, but let's just pray for the families that they can focus on the good and try to do things that make them happy. Again, I changed the name of my channel to Debbie's YouTube channel, I think, because I want to talk about the things that make me happy, like singing, dancing, art. I don't want it just to be about church history. I sort of thought I would do that, and then I've just been, my health has been in like mental health with all this gaslighting I've been through, and a lot of just emotional abuse. I'll just say that. And it's just really hard. Yeah, I want to focus on those good things. So let's just pray that they can find peace. Go ahead and bury JJ Vallow and Tally Ryan, and hopefully, I pray that anyone else that is deeply involved in this dark, messed up ideology of just people being black and white and just these extremes and wanting to, calling themselves warriors, like, that scares me now. Like, I think, it is a war. You should fight Satan, but listen to President Nelson, be peacemakers. Try not to destroy your best friend's reputation because they dared to question whether you believed in this stuff, and sadly, it's going to be a lot of people with mental health issues, a lot of people with like autism. A lot of times people with autism really get deeply into fantasy, and that's just their world, and so they're very vulnerable to these beliefs and ideologies, is my opinion. And so I was worried about a friend or two. And there was a conversation where and looking back, I'm like, why did they do this? They asked about the details of the Chad Lori Daybell case, and I went through all the details, but then they were being antagonistic, so then I was just a little more sarcastic in talking about the case when I was talking to them. Because they also just weren't being very empathetic to my fear. Like, I will say in my opinion that I was treated and told like that I was crazy because I was afraid of being around anyone, the possibility of being around someone that believes in this stuff, because I have a history of someone being obsessed with my photo and stalking me. And so I knew I had a little bit of a time frame, but I felt like a lot of fear that if I was in a situation where someone had power over me in any way, shape, or form that was involved in this at all, scared me. With the paper coming out, I definitely had a lot of fear of what they would do to me if they found out, if that happened. And so it was like this, anxiety, like, I have a month, I gotta get out of it, right? things just got really, really weird. That's all I'll say. But yeah, you watch my other YouTube videos. I've never believed any of this. I'm not into fantasy. I'm into biographies. I'm an empath. I like hearing about people. I care about people, and that's why I love biographies. And not so much fantasy. I just like real life, and I care about people, and let's just care about our family and friends, and please just stay away from these extreme ideologies, because it can happen in any group of people that meet on Facebook. It could be a bunch of Republicans that generally are good people suddenly start dehumanizing Nancy Pelosi, and they go storm the Capitol, or a bunch of Democrats that, or just some, more liberal that just start to hate and talk, and they start to hate and think that so they're just, this person is all bad, black and white, all bad, and then they go do violence. Like, it can happen on any political side, any of these groups on Facebook. It can happen really fast, and it happened with this weird religious beliefs, but I don't blame the Church of Christ of Latter-day Saints for that. I don't blame the entire Republican Party for the storming of the Capitol. I don't blame the Democratic Party for some of the violence that's happened, that people that really were genuinely upset that there is still some racism in our country, right? That's a legitimate thing. And hopefully we can be peacemakers and just talk about things, talk about our feelings, try to seek change, but try to not be so black and white and just hate people, or that's what right is scary. So guys, please pray for me, pray for my safety, and that hopefully Laura's will and these blessings that I keep hearing about can still happen. And my microphone's been going in and out. I have no idea how this video ended up, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it at this point. I think I've said everything I wanted to say. Again, I want to focus more on things that make me happy. So I don't want to just talk about church history. To me, this channel's been almost like Facebook. Like, the Spirit might inspire you to post, or share something. That's how it's been. I've been trying to listen to the Spirit. Am I perfect all the time? Is everything I say going to be unoffensive? No, especially if you believe in some of this crap, it's gonna offend you. But anyway, have a good day.